Hello and welcome to the second tutorial in the Cocos2d-JS version 3 series. In this part we'll be looking at how to set up for iOS. Little prerequisite, make sure you have Xcode installed so we can actually develop. You can get this from the Mac App Store. Okay, first of all what we're going to do is go to our web browser and show you what you need to download. There's only one thing you need to download to set up for iOS. Obviously outside of Xcode, you need Cocos2d-JS. If you go to Cocos2d-x.org, the link will be in the description. And then if you go to download, and if you scroll down here, you want Cocos2d-JS and just download version 3. Okay, so I already have it downloaded. I'll show you where I've put it. Put it in a folder called development in my applications. It's good that you organize if you don't, it's your choice, but if you do, you'll just generally save time looking around and you'll probably save errors and warnings during development. Okay, so we have Cocos2d-JS version 3, and once you have this zip file, you're going to want to extract it. I've already extracted it to save time. Once you've extracted it, open terminal. And what you want to do is change directory to your Cocos2d directory that you've extracted, like so. Make sure there are no spaces in the directory name whatsoever, otherwise you will have issues throughout this process and developing in general. So that's just a little tip, not just for Cocos, but in general. Try to keep no space. If you want to do a space, do like a dash to indicate that there's a gap. And now what you want to do is run this command, setup.py, well, to obviously set it up. So to do that, you do python./setup.py, and look, let's have a look what it's done. It's added the Cocos console root, which it didn't have, and this allows us to use the Cocos command from wherever we want, so we can compile, run, create new projects. It's looking for the NDK root, which is a native development kit. We don't need this, we'll be covering this in the next tutorial. Skip this, we don't need the Android SDK root, we're going to cover this again in the next tutorial. And for the Ant root, we don't need this, and we're going to be covering this again in the next tutorial, so we can just skip. And finally, it's just saying please execute command source user sonarsystem.bash profile. Obviously it'll probably be different for you depending on what your username is, but you can just read it from there on your terminal and just type it in. And then once obviously you've typed it in, you're just going to want to click enter. Underscore profile. And one way I like to check to make sure that this has worked is if I run the Python command again. If it says check environment variable, find environment variable, Cocos console root is found. Basically that means this was successfully added. The other one, or the environment variables won't be found simply because we didn't add them. Okay, now that we've run this command from anywhere we want, we can run the Cocos command to generate a new project. So we're going to do that. I'm going to do Cocos. That's how you initiate the Cocos command. To generate a new project, you use the keyword new. Then you name your project. I'm going to put tutorial ccjs YouTube. Then -p for package name. I'm going to put sonar systems tutorial. I'll leave it at tutorial YouTube. Then put -l for language, and basically this Cocos2d-JS on both JavaScript, so you put JS, put -d, and that's the directory that you want it to generate in. So I'm going to put /users /sonar systems. I want it to generate on my desktop, and now I'll click enter. As you see, a little folder has appeared right here. Okay, we now have our project generated. So if we just open it, we have quite a few things here. Let's run our application in Xcode. To do that, you go to frameworks, runtime source, and then you want to go to project iOS _Mac, open up your project. And what you need to do is select your project. By default you'll put it as JS bindings. You're going to want either the iOS or the Mac one. I'm just going to select iOS, and I'm going to run it in the simulator. So let's run this application now. So it's going to take a little while to compile. Once it has compiled and you can see it working, what we're going to do is just have a little brief run of the folders and files that are provided by Cocos2d-JS and the ones that you generally need to interact with. Now it's doing this massive 317 file compilation. I wouldn't try to take long, maybe a minute or so. You can ignore all these warnings. All of these are to do with Cocos2d, so I wouldn't bother trying to change it or mess with it. "130 files down, just another 200 to go. 150 now. If it fails as well, that's going to be really annoying. It shouldn't do, because I've tried it before. It does succeed on a new project. Okie dokie, the compilation of the 317 files has now complete. The last few files will be really quick, and then the simulator should open any moment now and run our amazing default application. Come on, come on. Yes, finally, Bill succeeded. We open up our simulator. Here we have our project generated, and it's running in the simulator. So that is it, really. So let's just go over the sort of files and whatnot that are provided. Actually, I'm going to do it via the Finder. So if we just go back to the root directory, you don't need to really interact with anything in here. For the most part, what you'll be interacting with is the stuff over here. First of all, we have our res folder, which is where our resources, obviously what we put, so like images and audio. And then we have our source folder. This is where the JavaScript files are, and the app.js is what you saw. That is the current layer that you saw. And finally, the other thing that you probably interact with, actually also, let's show you the resource.js. This, you can just add your resource, and whenever you want to refer to it, you can just refer to this name here instead of referring to the directory, which I think is really, really cool. And app.js, we'll be covering that in the next few tutorials. Main.js, this is just basically stuff like resolution policies for your game, setting the resolution. Obviously, if you're running in a web browser, is it going to resize with the web browser? Just basics like that. You won't really interact with this very often. You won't be dealing with the main.js, maybe the odd initial setup. Last thing to note is that Cocos2d-JS and Cocos2d-X can't be run on your system at the same time. What we mean by that is that it is not that you can't run applications, that is okay, but you can't use the Cocos command to generate new projects for both. You need to run the setup again if you want to switch, aka that setup.py file. We will look more into this situation, so if there is a way they can run them both at the same time, or if you know of a way that we can run them both at the same time, then let us know, because that would be great. It's not too much of an issue, but it is a little inconvenience. In the next part of this series, we're going to be looking at setting up for Android on Mac. All the required links for source code will be in the description, aka what we produced. And as usual, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.